See, Dark Dove back with you again, and this, in no particular order, is my top 10 picks for 1983. I'm shooting this on Sunday. I'd probably throw it up tomorrow on Monday, which is a bank holiday here, so still the weekend. I've seen Freddie and Tim Goes to Gideon's Trumpets videos, so there's a few in my selection that have already been shown by them, but I'll start off with a CD because I don't have this on vinyl. Apollo by Brian Eno, with Daniel Lanois and Roger Eno, brother of Brian. So this is basically conceived as a soundtrack to a documentary on the NASA space program. I think the documentary itself actually was delayed and didn't come out till a few years later. But anyway, this was released in 1983, and this is an absolutely fantastic, sublime piece of ambient music from Brian Eno and his other collaborators. Yeah, so the piece of music and ending is just absolutely beautiful piece, and yeah, just so many it's impossible to pick a favorite Brian Eno album, because there's so many different facets to his work, but I really like that one. Okay, so Freddie already showed this, so I won't go too much into it. Soul Mining by and the first release under that name by Matt Johnson. So yeah, so this is yeah, what can I say about this? Superb kind of post-punk pop, I suppose you could call it, album. But yeah, I won't go too much into it because Freddie did a fairly good critique on it. And again, Freddie also showed this one, Talking Heads, Speaking in Tongues. This was actually completes my this only arrived in the post on Friday. I was after ordering it on Discogs. It had been on my want list for a long time, and I spotted a fairly cheap copy. But anyway, yeah, so Freddie went into pretty good detail on this one as well. But as he said, there was a 3-year gap between this and Remain in Light. Quite a different sound, quite more of an 80s production, but there's some absolutely fantastic songs on this. Although I will say that a lot of the songs, I prefer the versions that are on Stop Making Sense, the live versions. The Stop Making Sense, that album which came out the following year. Next up, now this was shown by Tim Goes to Gideon's Trumpet, was absolutely vital album from 1983. This is the one that brought them through New Order, Power, Corruption and Lies. It was really quite a year for New Order, because they also released Blue Monday, which isn't on this, but and as with all of their factory releases, the design by Peter Saville is absolutely crucial to the music itself is fantastic, but the presentation is second to none as well. So now Freddie did show an album by Philip Glass, but this is a different one which also came out in 1983. This is The Photographer. This was part of a stage show. Now, this is missing the booklet, but it was kind of it was based on a murder trial from the 19th century of a famous pioneering photographer. I don't actually know his name. I imagine it would have been in the notes, but this is missing the booklet. But yeah, absolutely fantastic work from Philip Glass. It's kind of it's an orchestral piece, but there's also some beautiful piano pieces in here as well, plus choral work. This is actually a promo copy, but yeah. So the photographer, Philip Glass. Okay, this was also shown by Tim, but yeah. So Construction Time again, Depeche Mode. This is the one really that kind of well, I suppose what they really moved away from that kind of kind of, I suppose, teeny bopper image, which which they were kind of labelled under in their early days, and they moved into kind of more edgier territory, slightly kind of industrial sounding sound. I think maybe a little bit influenced by the likes of Einstürze and Neubauten, but imbuing it with a more maybe more commercial sounds. But yeah, it's a fantastic album all the same. But Construction Time again by Depeche Mode on mute. Okay. Now this is, next up we have, this is the second album from Psychic TV. Now Psychic TV, I mentioned in my last couple of videos Throbbing Gristle, who split up in 1981. Various members went on to do their various different projects, Chris and Cozy, Genesis P. Orridge, and initially Peter Christopherson formed Psychic TV. Now Peter Christopherson, this was the last album that he was on. He split along with John Balance, who was at this point a member of the band. They both split away the same year, soon after this album came out, in order to form Coil. But that's another story. So this is a mixture of industrial and also some rather kind of melodic songs on here. Yeah, it's quite experimental and avant-garde, but there's some moments on here that could almost be described as quite as poppy. But yeah, Psychic TV, they some of their later work was a bit patchy, some of it was kind of hit and miss, but I think this is probably one of their strongest albums. Dreams Less Sweet, and it came out on yeah, Some Bizarre was the label it came out on. Okay, again, still staying in the industrial realm of things. This is the full-length debut album by New York band Swans. They were kind of part of that New York no wave kind of thing, but they imbued it with a much more aggressive, heavy rock, kind of industrial rock kind of feel, maybe slightly reminiscent of Killing Joke, but even much heavier. This is not an original, by the way. This is a reissue on Mute, which came out 2 years ago, I think. So Michael Guira, they were kind of linked with Sonic Youth in their early days, but this is kind of moving away from that. That's from the sound of their self-titled EP, which came out the previous year. So this their Filth, their first full-length album, and it's very heavy, very brutal, and very aggressive, and kind of avant-garde industrial rock. Staying in a kind of avant-garde kind of mode of things. Now this album, I think this is definitely not going to be shown by anyone else, because I think very few people in the VC have this. I actually show this as part of Ron My Lung Puppy's Stump the VC series, you know, where you show things that nobody else in the VC has. This album has the mouthful of a title, Content to Write in Iodine Weathercraft, and this is from an artist who goes under the name of Stano. Now his real name, John Stanley, is from Dublin, Ireland, and he emerged in the early 80s as part of the Dublin post-punk scene. He was in various bands, but this is his debut solo album, which came out on a little known Irish label called Scoff Records. Yeah, this is extremely hard to find in the wild. There was a UK pressing as well on Rough Trade, which had totally different artwork. But anyway, musically, this is kind of industrial, maybe reminiscent of Cabaret Voltaire. Also, kind of maybe a bit of an ambient, Eno kind of a vibe. Much of the atmosphere of this album is down to the inclusion of another avant-garde Irish musician called Michael O'Shea, who contributes. He had this instrument which he built himself, which was kind of a homemade harpsichord kind of an instrument. Now he released a solo album himself the previous year on Dome Records. Dome Records, set up by former members of Wire. That self-titled album, is virtually impossible to find. It's even rarer than this one. But anyway, yeah. So this is an extremely kind of yeah, maybe possibly a little bit of a Cocteau Twins vibe as well there. It's very hard to categorize, but it's really a kind of a lost classic, I think. I don't think it's ever been reissued, and it's very, very, very difficult to find. But I think it's definitely one of the top 10 albums of '83, in my opinion. Last choice is live album from a band who had split up the previous year. So this was a posthumous release, Japan, Oil and Canvas. So this was recorded live shortly before they split up. Absolutely beautiful design and photography by Anton Corbin. So yeah, this really catches them at their height. I mean, they were really at the height of their, height of their game when they split up, which there's also some tracks as well which were recorded specifically for this release, but yeah, absolute swan song really for Japan, and it's an essential, if you're a fan of David Sylvian and Japan, it's an absolutely essential album to have in your collection. So that's it. That's my top 10 choices for '83. I'm not sure how much further I'll continue into Freddie's series. I'll definitely do '84, but after that it's a bit unsure. So we'll see how it goes anyway. But thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time in '84.